Okay, here we are on the top of the RV. There's the front AC unit up there. That's the one we're going to be changing. There's 3 units up here, 1, 2, and 3 in the back. This 3rd unit here, I already changed in about, I think it was November of 2017. So this will be the 2nd one. This is how I'm going to be lifting it out. I have a angle attached to this ceiling. This is actually how I get my tools up, like this. Well, this is the unit that we're going to take off. It's a Mach 8 15,000 BTU heat pump. We'll start by removing those top screws and getting the cover off. Okay, the cover's off. Here's the compressor. This is what has gone bad. It really makes a loud clanking noise, or something's broken inside. That's what happened to the one in the rear also. This blade, this 3-blade fan here, this is an upgrade that I replaced. The original one had a 6-blade fan that was very noisy, and this one was a redesign to help reduce the noise, and it does help. But the new ones, they also have another upgrade on them, and I'll show that to you as well. But here's the indoor fan, the condensate pump. I'm going to take this cover off right here to get into the mounting screws onto the roof. This is the condenser coil. Okay, we're going to take this cover off. That's where all the evaporator coil and the supply and return and a lot of the wiring and stuff is under there. It's, I think these are 3/8 nuts. 1, 2, back here. Where is it? There it is. There. And right there. I'll take those off. Okay, we've got the cover off. Here's the indoor fan, motor, evaporator coil. Here's the control module. By the way, this does not come with the new unit. You have to take this one out and put it back in the new unit. These are controls from the thermostat. Here's your condenser pump output, and that's got some piping that runs through the roof and drops out the back there. But what you see down in here is the return air area, and then underneath this fan is the other area. But we'll show that once we get this off. There's 4 screws that look like this one in each corner. There, there, and there, that we're going to be taking out. Once we get those out, you should be able to lift it up off the roof. Okay, before we take the unit off, or before we undo these screws here, I'll undo the condensate pump hose here, and we'll unplug this and all of these control fittings, and then we'll be able to take this module out, and then the unit will, once we get the screws out, it'll lift free, and this stuff will be left here for the new one. I just lifted the cover off of the indoor fan. It's a squirrel cage type blower, and you see down below there, that's the part of the supply duct. The opening for the supply goes out to the right side of the coach, and then runs front to back, and the return side goes out to the left side of the coach, and again that return duct runs front to back as well. This is the control board with the cover off. I've got the power turned off to the unit down inside the coach, so I'm going to undo this so that I can pull it away, get it out of the way for a while. These are the screws that come out of here. Those are the 4 that hold it down to the roof. So I just took the first one out, but it's pretty long. This is what it looks like. These are spacers that come out from under here, so that when you tighten down these screws, it squeezes the gasket down to the right height. So there's one of these spacers under each screw. Now we've got the screws out. They were over here. I actually took this plate off just to take a look at it, but there's a gasket that runs around this opening, and it's usually glued down real tight. Now I've kind of worked this with a screwdriver. It'll tear apart the gasket underneath, but that's okay. We're gonna scrape it off and get rid of it. But it'll take a little work to loosen this gasket up to where you can finally lift it off. You can see it's stuck on there pretty good. But just keep working at it, and you'll loosen it up and be able to remove this unit. And then I'll show you later. Okay. I finally got it off. Took a little bit of work, but it came loose. I've just slid it back now, but you can see there's silicon, solid silicon all around here. This is a center barrier piece right here that separates the supply side from the return side. I'll be reworking this part a little bit so that when I put the new one on, it squeezes in there real nice to keep it airtight, so there's no air crossing. Again, here's the evap condenser water piping. This is the power cord, comes up. Thermostat, this is the thermostat wire. These are a couple of diodes that are somehow, I've done a little research on this, but it works with the generator controller. I guess there's times that if you leave your unit and the temperature drops below freezing or something, it has an automatic start, so you can turn the heaters on or something. I don't use this because we're in Arizona, but that's what these things are. This wire here goes down to the temperature sensor down below. It's mounted in the ceiling. I've got some new ones of these. I'm going to go ahead and replace these thermostats. Temperature sensor, excuse me. The ones that were in there, the wiring wasn't really done very well, and we were having a lot of trouble keeping the temperature steady. And when I did the rear unit, there was bare wires showing, and I think they were shorting out occasionally, or I don't know what it was, but I redid all of the temperature sensors on all 3 units. But just in case, I have two new temperature sensors. I'm going to go ahead and put one in on this unit here. So the next step is we're going to get a razor scraper and clean all this up real good. This is one of the spacers I was telling you about earlier. That's actually siliconed in there. But when you tighten down those bolts, this squeezes the gasket down to the right dimension. Anyway, that's it. I'll put the cover back on it, get it ready to lift down. I'm going to slide it along the side over there to where I have my rail set up. I'll have a pulley system rigged up where I can lift it up, and then I'll pull the RV out, lower it down to the ground, and then I'll lift the new unit up, put the RV back in, and then move it up here for installation. All right, just need to clean this up. I'm going to start by getting that silicone off around there. I've got most of the silicone scraped off now. Looks pretty clean. You don't have to get it all completely off, just as long as it's smooth. In fact, when you put more caulking, or when we put more caulking on the other gasket, it should adhere well to that little bit of silicone that's left there. But anyway, what I did is I had this putty blade that I just kind of sharpened up the end of it with my grinder, and then I just kind of once in a while kept it sharp with the stone, and then it really scrapes off pretty good. I mean, it takes a little work, but it scrapes off pretty good. So now I gotta go get my vacuum, shop vac, and clean it all up and get all the dirt and everything off. We'll be ready to bring the new one in. Okay, I've got it pretty well cleaned up, ready for the new unit. What I'm going to do is I want to make a foam piece to go across the top here that'll squeeze in tight when I set the new unit on. And I'm also going to put some more aluminum foil tape on here just to make sure that these seams are sealed real good. So I'm going to do a little bit more of that. It's looking pretty good. I just glued the foam piece on here. What I'm using here is a 1/4 inch dent. It's a dense foam, and I cut it to fit, and then I glue pieces together to get the height that I need. These are 2 1/4 inch pieces right now that I have in here that I've just glued down on that top separation wall. This is also the additional foil that I put in here. So that looks pretty nice and tight. This right here didn't have any sealant in it, so what I use this it's kind of a flexible clay type sealer, and I just work it in around the hole here. I might do a little bit more around here before I'm done, but just make sure all these holes are sealed up good. But I think I'm just about ready to bring the new unit up on top, so looking good. All right, we've got the old unit sitting on a dolly. Have it strapped up. Just put one strap around here, one strap around here, and then this is what I'll hook to my harness. So I'm going to roll it right down the side here over to my lifting rail right there. Okay, got it in position. Get my pulleys hooked up, and then we'll take another shot of it. Okay, there's a pulley system all hooked up. I got it lifted. I'm going to get ready to pull out now pretty soon. So okay, I've got the unit pulled out. There she is. By the way, this is a 2013 Tiffin Phaeton 42 foot. It's really been a pretty good RV for us. I've had to do some repairs. I've done a few modifications to make it work for us, but it's good for the money. Okay, now I've pulled out the RV. It's all ready to let down. Okay, this is the way it comes. It's wrapped pretty decently and strapped onto a pallet. It's shipped by carrier, truck carrier, and it's usually on a small trailer with tractor unit. And some carriers, they'll just drop it off at your front driveway. This particular carrier actually rolled it around into my garage, so that was nice. Anyway, moving on. Here's the new unit. Got the lid off. I'm gonna move this onto the dolly, roll it into the RV garage, and we'll get ready to lift it, and then I'll back the RV back in underneath it. Well, there. Got the big unit up, the new unit. Got that up here, sitting here. Worked really good. Next thing, we'll roll around and get it ready to put in place. All right. I've got the unit moved up front, taking the cover off. You can see it's pretty much an exact replacement. This is the fan upgrade that I was talking about a little bit earlier. This newer blade is a fan is a 5-blade, has a shroud around it. I think it helps with the airflow through the condensing coil. But I'm going to take this cover off and move it into place here and make sure all the alignment on the mounting holes and everything is okay. This is something that I noticed is a little different. These start capacitors, they moved and put them on a mounting here on the side where they used to be, I think, over there. Well, let's see. I think they were mounted underneath the fan over there, but so I'll have to get this moved out of the way before I can take the cover off. Actually, that was real easy. It just pops off like that. Easy. Well, you can see that it's pretty much the same inside. The evaporator coil. Here's our plug we'll plug into our control module. This insulated liner right here is something that they added. I think that's to help with the noise factor, but I guess that's a good thing. What I've done here is just get it lined up properly over the opening. Just double check that these are all over the holes. That goes down, matches up good. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift it up and I'm going to brace it with a piece of wood there so that I can work on the gasket underneath. And it looks like I'll have to check what the compression is, but I may end up having to make a spacer right here. But we'll take a look at that when I get it lifted up. Here I've got it tipped back so we can take a good look at the gasket. The gasket is about 1 inch thick. Let me get my tool here. So the gasket's about 1 inch thick, and then these tabs are the ones that I was talking about. They're a compression guide, and they look like they're about 3/4 of an inch. So it looks like the compression is going to be about 1/4 of an inch. But normally, the instructions for this is for a unit that has a ceiling control assembly that mounts, just goes right straight down through the hole here, and then in the ceiling assembly mounts on the bottom. And you can see these tabs, and then usually the bolts usually come through from the ceiling up here and thread into these So I'm going to take a look and see about making some spacers that match this 3/4 inch here. And let's see what else. This is the other thing that I want to pay attention to. It's the the barrier that separates the supply and return. So I have these other 1/4 inch thick pieces that I've made, and I'm going to glue them in here like this, so that the thickness is about 1 inch, like this gasket, and basically it goes across right here. And when I set it down, we're going to put caulking along here and caulking along the top of here, so that it's a good seal. So anyway, that's something to pay attention as well. Well, I had some Schedule 80 1/2-inch conduit on hand, so I was able to cut some pretty nice spacers with that. It looks like it'll work pretty nicely. 4 of them right here, so I'll get those placed underneath each one of these locations like that. I think I might do that after I've set it down. I'll take a look. I'll decide on that here in a minute. Anyway, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to now put this our caulking all the way around the gasket and across the top of here and over here. I'm not going to get crazy with it, but so it's oozing everywhere, but I want to make sure that it's got a good seal. I've had a lot of success with this Dynaflex 230 by DAP. I use it for all kinds of sealant projects. I use this on the back unit too, and we've had virtually no water leaks whatsoever. So this is what I'm going to use on it. Let's get ready. All right, got the caulking on there. Just kind of spread it a little bit with my fingers, just to make sure a lot of gaps. But when it squeezes down there, it's going to spread it out. Got it on this center piece, and I gooped it up pretty decent on the ends here, so it seals between here and here. I'm ready to set it down. Cross my fingers. Okay, I got it lined up pretty good. What I'm doing here is I got these 3-inch number 8 screws. I'm just going to put them down through here and into the holes so that it kind of keeps things in alignment when I put the spacers in and such. See, now it feels like that's off just a little bit. Let me work that in. Okay, I think I've got it pretty well lined up. What I'm doing with these screws right here is they go through and help hold this spacer in place until I get the permanent screws in there. So it looks like I've got them sitting there in place. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the screws in now. All right. Well, that went on quite nicely, actually. You can kind of see the gasket is squoze nicely up against the roof of the RV, so I like that. It looks like everything made a nice, good seal. The spacers worked out nicely. Just going to double check the tightness. I think something, the camera went off or something, but anyway, you can see my center barrier right here turned out nice. It's goes in there very nicely. So I'm real happy with the way it went together here so far. Now I'll start getting the control module and the wiring all set up. Alright, well, we've got the control module back on. Power hooked up. The unit plugged in here. All the thermostat controls here. I've routed the condensate water line underneath the control panel. Comes over here and out. So just don't forget to put the freeze temperature sensor in. Out there on the second row up in the middle somewhere. And then just straighten up the wiring a little bit, and we're ready to put the cover on. Alright, got the cover on, capacitor's set up, looks pretty good. I'm just going to put the cover on it, and I think we'll be ready to give it a test. All done. I'm going to go downstairs, turn on the power, and cross our fingers. We're getting ready to test. Here's the, right there, that's the indoor temperature sensor. The unit's right above it. And then over here is the remote thermostat for the unit. Okay. Switch it on. There it goes. It's running. It's a good sign. The air's starting to cool off. Good. Now you can kind of hear it running. Sounds very good. It's actually quieter than the old one. This moves a lot of air through that condenser fan, and the airflow is very good inside as well, so I'm very pleased.